A good Erev Shabbos. This is Rabbi Kovacs pre-recording our limud in Mishnah Yomi for Shabbat Vayigash. We are in Sanhedrin, chapter 6, Mishnah 4 and 5, Dalet Hey. Now, so far in this chapter, we've been talking about the conclusion of a capital case and how the convict is led out for execution using Skilah as an example, talking about the dignity that's afforded to the convict even during execution, because of ve'ahavta l'recha kamocha, even someone who needs to be executed needs to be shown love and respect. Now, Mishnah Daled describes how Skilah actually took place, and it might be a little different from the impression many people have who have not yet learned Mishnah Yomi, or maybe they just saw old movies. They don't really know how Skilah really works. Let's check it out. Mishnah Daled, Beit HaSkilah, the house of Skilah, Haya Gavoha Shtei Kamot. It was a platform 2 floors tall. So if your regular floor is 3 or 4 amot, it's twice that, 8 amot, a significant height, a height that can cause injury. So what do? They take the accused up there, and the convict at this point, he's exhausted all of his appeals, and the 2 witnesses. And echad min eidim, one of the witnesses, dochvo al matnav, pushes him from behind, nepoch al libo, so he falls onto his chest. Hofcho al matnav, and after he falls, they turn him over onto his back. It's more respectful, and they need to find out if he's still alive. Imet ba yatza, if he dies from this initial fall off the platform, yatza nishmato, he's dead, but also they've done the execution correctly. That's good enough. V'im lov, if he's not dead yet, hasheni, the second witness, who's still up on top of the platform, notelet evan, he takes a large stone, notna al libo, he throws it onto the heart of the convicted man. Imet ba yatza, if he dies at this step, that's good. V'im lav, but if Nebuch, he didn't die from the first 2 injuries, Brigimato b'chol Yisrael, he can be stoned, they can throw stones, all of the people who are there. Shnamar yada edim tiyabo rishona, l'hamito, because it's a pasuk. In Devarim chapter 17, it says the hand of the witnesses will be on him at first to kill him, v'yad kol ha'am b'achrona, and the hand of all the rest of the people afterwards, meaning the witnesses get the first crack at conducting the execution. I think the Gemara also cites Shmot, chapter 19, Pasuk Yud Gimel, which is talking about Har Sinai, not to go up Har Sinai because they would get Skilah. And there it says, there, Lo tigabo yad ki sakol yisakel, you will certainly be stoned, o yaro yareh, or cast down. So it sort of implies that if the throwing him down and throwing the rock on top of him doesn't kill him, then after that, if that wasn't good enough, then sakol yisakel. So what people commonly may assume, people who did not yet learn Mishnah Yomi, they might assume that Skilah is everyone throwing rocks. That's only step 3, and that's only b'diavad if the first 2 steps didn't actually perform the execution. That's the Nebuch, it had to get that far where everyone else is throwing rocks. Back in the Mishnah, kol aniskolan, anyone who got a penalty of Skilah, nitlin, is hung up. They would hang them up to be on display as a warning to everyone else. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer, according to Rabbi Eliezer, the sages disagree. They say, Eno nitla, we don't hang anyone, Elohim megodef va'oved avodah zarah, only one who does blasphemy or performs idol worship, which is akin to a form of blasphemy. And we'll talk more about blasphemy in chapter 7. Mishnah here adds, Ha'ish tolin oto ponav kolpei am, a man is hung with his face facing the people, as you can see what it is, ha'isha panea klope eitz, but a woman is hung facing the pole, the wood, so they don't want to display her face. It's more shameful. Divrei Eliezer, it's according to Rabbi Eliezer. Ish nitla, the sages say only a man is hung to display. Va'ena isha nitlet, a woman is not. That is a very larger indignity for a woman to suffer. Amar lehen Rabbi Eliezer told them, Halo Shimon ben Shattach tola nashim b'Ashkelon. Didn't Shimon ben Shattach, a great sage in an earlier generation, didn't he hang women up in Ashkelon? Amar lo, they told him, Shmonim nashim tola. At that time, he hung 80 women in one day. Ein danin shnayim biyom echad. And we don't even judge 2 people at the same day. A capital case gets its own day in court. There can't be any other cases in that court on the same day. So they say we can't learn from this because what happened in Ashkelon was not a normal judicial procedure with the regular rules and regulations. It was a horat sha'ah, a ruling that was necessary for a special circumstance. The Gemara gets into it. There was a den of witches causing great harm to the people of Ashkelon, and Shimon ben Shattak was able to defeat the witches and execute them. So instead of giving them a trial one by one and leaving them free to do more witchcraft and hurt more Jewish people, they were all executed immediately. So that's not a normal situation. Ketzad Tolinoto, how do they actually hang the body? Mishokin etakor ba'aretz, they drive a pole into the ground, va'etz yotzim memenu, and a horizontal piece of wood is attached to it. Umokif shtei yodov zo al gebi zo, they attach the hands of the body one to another. V'tolinoto, they hang him up by the hands. Rabbi Yossi Omeri disagrees, says a koramute ol hakotel, it's just leaning diagonally on the wall, and they hang him the same way butchers do. They just hang him from a diagonal post. They don't set up a whole elaborate, taller structure. Yad, and we bring him down immediately. If they left him there on the gallows overnight, overlove belotase, the court and the officers doing this would be doing an avera, they'd be doing an infraction against the Torah. Shnamar lo talin nivlato al ha'etz ki kavor tikbarena. It says, do not leave him hanging on the wood. You must certainly bury him. Ki kilalot elokim tolui. Because a hanging body is an affront, is like a curse, God forbid, to Hashem, his creator. Kolomar, that's to say, mipnei mazeh tolui, people are going to see him if he's hanging so long and say, oh, why did this guy get hung up? Because he gave a blessing, quote-unquote blessing, meaning the opposite, to God. And the name of Shemayim, meaning God's reputation, is insulted. It's a chilul Hashem, as we call it. So people knowing such a horrible affront to the dignity of their creator took place, it's a continuing affront to his dignity, so it's insulting not just to the man who had to be executed, but to Hashem himself, his creator, if they left him hanging, so he would be taken down from the pole immediately. The Mishnah Hay is going to start with a philosophical explanation based on the same verse, Ke kilalat elokim talui. It's in Devarim chapter 21, verse 23. Amar Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir says, "B'shosha adam mitzdayer." When a person is suffering, and our sages say suffering is due to some sort of something going wrong with the person, some sort of sin, some sort of lack is causing his suffering. Shechina mahalashon merit, the Shechina, the divine presence itself. What words does the Torah say about this? Keviyachol kaleni miroshi, kaleni mizroi. It's as if the Shekhinah is saying, I have kaleni, like kalon is related to Lashon Kilol. I feel heavy, I feel cursed in my head, it's a headache. I feel heavy in my arms, my body is getting heavy to me. The idea being Hashem Kiviyachol, Hashem is no body, but Hashem Kiviyachol feels the suffering and feels the weight of the world along with a human being who's suffering, even though he has to suffer to correct whatever is going wrong in his life. Im ken hamakom mistar domam shel rishayim. If Hamakom, meaning Hashem, the ultimate place of the world, is suffering, kiviyachol, about the blood of evildoers that need to be executed, kal v'chomer, al damim shel tzadikim. That is a kal v'chomer that Hashem feels incredible pain for the righteous people and innocent people and the children and hostages who, God forbid, are suffering. So when a person says, I feel your pain, that might be a cute political statement, but when Hashem says, I feel your pain, that means Hashem really, truly does feel our pain and has sympathy for us in our time of suffering. And back in the Mishnah, v'lozu bilvad, and it's not only the executed person who should not be left unburied, that's like a curse to his creator. Elekol hamelin et meito, anyone who leaves his relative, someone he needs to bury overnight, over belotasai, is going against the Torah. But halenu lichvado, if he's leaving him over for his own honor, for the honor of the deceased, lahavilo arun v'tachritin, for instance, they have to leave him there, in the morgue so they can get the coffin or get the burial shrouds, enu over alav. It's not an ideal situation, but he has not violated the commandment. Now the Mishnah returns to someone who was executed by the court. V'lo hayu kovrin oto bekivrot avotav. They would not bury the convicted, executed man in the same cemetery, the same burial plot as his ancestors. But the court had two special cemeteries for executed people. One for people who get an execution by hereg, by the sword, and one for chenek, through strangulation. And the other one for people who receive a skilah and a sreifa, a burning. And in the next chapter, we will discuss all four of the official execution methods of the court and why two of them, they're distinct. And we have two different cemeteries for each for two different methods of execution. Yishar kochachem, tizku lemitzvot.